I want to ask my question on economics. And recently we passed, a couple of days ago, we passed the budget in Guyana. I think it was unanimously passed in Parliament. That means it was supported by the opposition also. There are some very grand, I should say, plans for social transformation of Guyana in terms of more facilities for education from different groups, different communities, help for the senior citizens, people who are like at the lower level of the income bracket here in Guyana, and like some tax relief in some certain areas. I, as an economist, I'm wondering what, and I didn't see this so much, maybe I didn't examine thoroughly, but you can probably shed some light here. I'm concerned about the revenue source or sources that are available or will be generated within the same period to help to support or finance those grand social programs.
Yeah. Well, in the budget, as you know, you have a budget for $230 billion. It probably is the largest, single largest budget, but budgets have been presented from in the last 5 years, I've checked, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and I think from 2010, come back, totaling $911 billion. That was under the Jadoopat government. $911 billion. And a lot of that came for the capital work, from loans, from borrowing, some from grants, and others from current revenue. But as I said in the Parliament, the PPP 911 ended in May of 2015. But before they came out, although they had all of this money, billions and billions of dollars, you're still watching around and asking, but where did the money go? Where did the money go? So all we found politically, as I said, that they destroyed the twin tower of democracy, which is accountability and transparency. So they had their 9/11, like the United States had their 9/11. We have just got into the government and we found a structure where there is a high level of taxation. The money that comes in, the large stream of the money is coming in from income tax, corporate tax, excise custom duties, etc., fees and charges and so on. So that you realize that the VAT, for example, the reason we are not reducing it is because it is still a reliable and efficient method of recovering revenues. And you want to keep that while you try to ease the normal, ordinary, poor consumer. You could take more goods off the VAT list and make zero-based VAT items. So that helps poor people. But the question is that many of the projects we have inherited are rollover projects. These projects have rolled over from the former government. Money had already been spent. Commitments have already been made. So it's not that you could suddenly cancel them off. Like you're talking about this specialty hospital. If a contract was signed, we will see that the contract was on. If they had a bypass road linking the East Bank and the East Coast Demerara Road network, we'd like to see that that project continues. Because it's already some progress has been made. So that we are looking at some of the big projects, the East Coast and East Bank Highway, West Demerara Highway, and we are trying to complete those projects. Because if you did so, you will be creating jobs, you will be stimulating the economy. We have put in some new projects, like the road from Parika to Hydroni through to go past Partika. because that will open up new areas and land for agriculture, and more people can be involved in agro processing in that area. In fact, we thought it was the ideal place because sand is plentiful, you have stone there, and you have water, so that you don't have to dig wells anymore for water. You could just draw water from the rivers, and you can purify that, and you can have abundance and unlimited water supply. And so we have chosen that project as a strategic project. We have chosen a new bridge across the Demerara River because we thought that is also strategic to bring West Demerara to the city. And we have also thought of pushing to have a new 1,000, if we can, megawatt of electricity generated out of hydro. So there are some big projects there, including completing the Letem as an industrial zone that is a border town with Brazil. That you could have transshipment of goods that are manufactured very cheaply in Brazil anyhow and brought and use Guyana as a port to ship goods out. We also are trying to fast track the Letem-Linden highway. I see the opposition making mock that I said it's going to be. I said you're going to make it in an all-weather road. And we started already to make the bridges so that you could cross. Rebecca and Imran, they just were driving on it. They took 12 hours, and they said that only in one area they had a little bumpy ride and one bridge. But that is now under, you were there.
Yes, I was here 2 days ago.
2 days ago. You flew in or you drove?
I drove.
You drove?
Yes, I know the roads in the
So you see, we are trying to improve the communication with South, because we are going to be able to interact with the productive areas. So yes, while you have a big budget of 230 billion Guyana dollars, not all of that, 75 billion maybe would go into capital works. The others are going into social services. We still maintain a high level of allocation for health, for education, for housing, for water, for social protection, for pensions. So we are trying to keep about 20–25% of our budget should go to those people in direct services, and then allocated to the regions, the 10 regions, so that they can provide for specific needs in the region. So our budget is not perhaps classically a developmental budget, it is capital development budget at this point in time. I see it as a transition budget, as taking us into a few big projects, mega projects, but at the same time trying to consolidate the social life of people, trying to use as much state resources to ensure that you have proper education, health services, and water, so that the people cannot suffer from any detriment. In other words, you must not, as a government, even if you're there for 9 months, you must not lower the standards to which people were accustomed. And that's what our intention is, to be able to first and foremost pay attention to poverty alleviation, to be able to spend more money on culture and sports, because we recognize the epidemic of suicide, for example, is because of an inbuilt gulag mentality of locking people into their problems and not being able to create outlets for them to address their frustration and depression. Yesterday I received a letter from the ambassador of Mexico, and who told me that the time has now come for me to name someone, to take a team of persons coming to Guyana from Mexico to see where the Creative Arts Center will be located. We are trying to have assistance from Mexico to build a massive complex that will house people who want to study music, dance, who want to do painting, and order of the fine arts. To be able to allow our young people to dream that they could become they could become great in the artistic and literary sense, so that you're mixing and merging the economic and financial needs of our people, the physical needs with the spiritual and cultural needs of our people. And that's how we are thinking right now. And I just wrote a letter today, before I left yesterday, to dispatch to the Minister of Education, kindly go and see a piece of land where this new creative arts center would be located. So we want to give back Guyana its soul. People used to say that man doesn't live by bread alone. And if all our obsession is only about finding the next buck, we may probably start thieving to get the buck. But if you address people's soul, people's emotional and literary and artistic needs, then they become more comfortable with themselves. They can deal with their problems, they can internalize a lot more, and we can all become better human beings, better Guyanese.
On this subject, you just raised something which is very close to me, with this Creative Arts Center. In 1995, and you would remember, I brought the Russian circus here. And you mentioned that many times, but you do not know the details behind that. The real reason for bringing that circus here was not to have a circus and go back. We had negotiated with the University of Guyana before coming to establish with the University of Guyana a department for circus arts, classical music, and classical dance. Because at that time in Russia, the subsidies to art institutions were withdrawn. And these people had no, they were world-class professionals in those fields, they had no jobs. So I put a team together and select some of the best people in the world to come here, and we went through a lot of correspondence with the university with the staff, and they agreed. They said this is something great for Guyana, and they corrected, let us have. So we came here with 40 people to do that, and we met with Brassington at that time, and we met with Professor Craig, may he so rest in peace, and these guys were sitting ready to sign a contract. Maharaj Jagdev, who was Minister of Finance at that time, he put a spoke in the wheel, because he didn't want Jadoopat to become popular with such a grandiose project. He put Hyderali Minister, he was Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education at that time, to review the project that we have. We translated all the documents from English from Russian. We had all these top-notch trainers, professionals in the field to come here to work. I had a salary worked out for them. We're going to provide accommodation, medical assistance, and everything paid for them. We had the funding. We didn't ask for money. And this is one of the greatest things that people said could have happened for me, and we heard it. Now, Jagdev started to block me. He didn't want to give the Russians work permit. He refused to give them work permit. Feroz Mohammed told me, why? That guy, your friend, said, you know, you're dealing with drugs people here. All kind of nonsense they're talking about, you know, that you know, we gotta watch you. So my hands are clean. I never took a cent from anybody. I never got involved in any illegal activity. Never, ever. And I would never do it. My family's name is very important to me. So I just want to share this with you.
Yeah.
This project is still on hold, but now things have changed. People are no longer available there, maybe. So they had to go back. They were refused work permit at that time to stay in Guyana. And these are Russians who were very close to the PPP government at that time. I'm sure you didn't know this. So
I didn't know of that dimension, but I tell you this, if the Russian circus were to come to Guyana now, I think they would be a great hit. Because people like magic. They like circus. They like fantasy. And you could see when you go abroad, I went to one part of the United States last time when I went to the Circus Alliance.
Circus Alliance.
It's from France.
It started in
Montreal.
Romania and then Montreal, and they would have them in Manhattan, and they also have them in Vegas.
Well, I went there, and I'll tell you, it was sold out, and you could go several times. And in Moscow, I saw the Russian circus in Moscow, and it's one of the best. And if you didn't go to Moscow and you saw Raj Kapoor's movie, 80 Days Around the World or something like that.
Around the World in 80 Days.
Yes, Around the World in 80 Days.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that or Maryland Joker, one of the two. You saw a replica of the Russian circus.
Yes.
And the Russian circus is an amazing...
Maryland Joker. Yes.
It was an amazing feat that you would see, and I believe that Rudy did the right thing by bringing people of creative talent to Guyana, and I believe that if you speak with the Ministry of Culture, Dr. Nicolette Henry, dealing with the specific issue, you could probably work out an arrangement where they could return, or any other such group can return, because as you know now, we have removed from the from tax the repatriation of talent fees. Once you come here and you make some money out of your talent, then you shouldn't be subject to any tax or any heavy tax on that.
Yeah, at that time we had a big 25%
Well,
of the ticket price,
so,
and we had to pay it up front.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Right.
Anyway, we're not going to take much more time from the Prime Minister. We're going
Right.
to our busy
So,
schedule.
more
We're going to have two very quick questions.
Yes.
One from Jonathan about local government elections.
But before that, I would want to touch, I salute you for having the pulse of the people, especially with the arts and culture part, because when I was here earlier with Pastor Jean Ram, and we were in Esquivel, and we talked to the children in the high schools. One of the things they were asking for is the need socialization methodology. They need a place to play badminton, tennis, little volleyball, socialize among themselves. So they can talk things among themselves as peers. To do peer counseling, like they share information, support each other, don't do this, don't do that, that's not right, this is, stuff like that. So I'm glad we shared the same information with the Minister of Education also. In segue to what you were saying just now, with having some facility created where they can express themselves, art, culture, music, share information, give guidance, especially one of the things that came out of young people listen to young people. They will probably tune out a little bit more for older people because they're not in the same, but they will listen to other young people. So they will consider young people with positive ideas, they will agglutinate towards them more so than they will tune out the older because they know what we're talking about. Now, so that's a very good thing. I commend you, salute you for that. Now, that's a mundane, that's a little bit more realistic, pragmatic question. Tell me about this 911 business. I've been reading and hearing from people, they call 911, people don't pick up the phone rings for 15 minutes before 911 is being, and then the police doesn't have cars, vehicles to go there. So, is there any improvement from the time this government came into government, sorry? Is there any improvement from that process then to now?
Well, I can tell you, I was ringing 911 myself one day and I was getting no response. So I decided to ring 912, 912, and I got an answer. 912, ambulance, fire brigade or something like that, the answer came. And I was shocked. I said, what did I do? So we have problem with the 911, but the 912 is up. You could call it the fire brigade, as we call it, the fire tender. But there was an arrangement with GT&T that they would provide the service. It is at the cost of the state. And we are pursuing that arrangement. There are some technical glitches we are pursuing, and we have also talked to Digicel to see how they could come in. There's also a private group that wants to provide the service. So we are working on that, and we are reviewing that almost in the last couple of weeks at the National Security Committee, where we sit with the Minister of National Public Protection and the Commissioner of Police, and we are reviewing this as a constant concern that we have to get 911 back up. In the meantime, what has happened is that we have adopted a sister program to set up cameras at all stoplights and in strategic places. We have a project that's now going to be implemented called the Smart City Project, where cameras would be placed everywhere, and that you could simultaneously monitor what's taking place in different parts of the city. It will eventually roll into the rural areas. The idea in that is to be able to, rather than depending on the 911 call, you could see when there's an accident on the road, you can see when someone shouts in the street, thief, thief, and you can deploy by connectivity the ranks within the periphery of those possible events. So there's a combination of activities, but I'm disappointed in the 911 coming off the radar. When I was a minister before, I used to have a red phone in my office. I could call the president or any other minister on my red phone. I used to have one by my bedhead. In the night, the president would call me, then President Jagan, and we will talk late into the night on a secure line. We need to bring that back, because even in internal communication, we need to talk more to our colleagues than before, because we're all working on the same team. We're all batting for Guyana, and therefore we should have greater communication. So the 911, I can say, is a work in progress, but we're not happy right now.
Okay. My other question is, I would imagine or believe that around 2018 or so, because of the petroleum find in Guyana's waters, oil or water is going to be coming out from around 2018. I may be correct or incorrect in that estimation. But do we have, or are we doing some forward thinking whereby we'll probably set up a geology or petroleum engineering or chemical engineering department in the University of Guyana or any other institution here? That's the first question. Segment the second one. And would there ever be an encouragement of guys or girls in high schools who are at the GC, would give like scholarships to go study engineering in our universities or at the university level, so they can be able to help Guyana? And one more question right there. Are we thinking of establishing a refinery? Because it's great to get the raw material out, but it's carol, the money is in the refinery. Are we thinking of opening up a refinery in Guyana to refine the oil that we're getting out from the ocean?
All right, the first question is that yes, that we started to think about the training in petroleum engineering because we want to be prepared for that. When we were in Mexico, both Minister Trotman and I, we spoke to the their Petromass, I think it was, in terms of what they're doing, and they have institutional backup in relation to training people in petroleum engineering. I went to the institute. They have a polytechnic, they call it, where they're training petroleum engineers, and we asked, and they consented to make space available to send our young people to be trained in Mexico. On the other hand, I met here a group of academicians led by Professor Glenn Sankat out of the University of West Indies, who have expressed an interest to have a faculty of engineering in Guyana as an offshoot of the University of West Indies. So that discussion is now with the Ministry of Education, and the issue of outside training is with Minister of Natural Resources. We hope that we'll be able to take these matters forward. In fact, as I said earlier, I just received communication from the Ambassador of Mexico that there are some arrangements that are advanced and they are preparing to help us. We also need the institutional framework, the legal framework, that once we start extract oil and gas, that we need to build all the environmental framework to protect our country from spill, from any environmental disaster, etc. That is also something in the making. As regards the refinery, I have met with the entire board of ExxonMobil, and this was part of the conversation of where to refine. And I'm not in a position right now to say whether they have decided to use facilities existing in Trinidad, because Trinidad is a producing country, or probably some other area, or to build a new refinery in Guyana. Because the price of crude is so low at this point in time, these, the issue of building infrastructure doesn't seem to be an immediate issue.
Cost ratio analysis.
The cost factor, if you could do it somewhere else, why not?
In interim, right.
For example, right now, because of the same factor of oil plunging to an all-time low, it is easy for Guyana now. It's a great time for Guyana, because we are able to have the oil rigs to come to Guyana. In other places where they have been made redundant, so you get them for half price.
Yes.
And they're coming here to help us set up and to the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure for us to exploit. So the answer to all your questions would be yes.
Thank you, sir.
But I can't be more definitive than that.
Let's hear the yes for my very last question about local government elections, sir. I understand that in Guyana you have about 60% of the useful population segmented between 18 to 35. And the question I would like to ask in local government election, are there many, according to what change agents do, younger people probably have, they may not be as experienced in matters of politics or administration, but should they not be given a chance, a higher chance, or incidences of administrative vision or mentoring, so that they can integrate into these LGEs and be of meaningful, contribute meaningfully to their different departments? What do you think about that process of integrating more of the younger folks into the local government elections?
Well, the local government is the incubator for young people. I just had some kids from Teen on the quarantine. They're visiting. We have a log of nearly 2,000 students have already visited the Ministry of the Presidency, passing through here, going to see the President. We're taking out photographs and so on, and we're doing a little conversation with them. Who would like to be Prime Minister, President, and all of them, their hands up, and who would like to be a councillor in the village and so on. So there is what we call the incubation stage. We didn't have local government elections in Guyana for 19 years. So remember the child who is now going to be voting for the first time never experienced an election. It is not like when I was appointed Minister of Local Government. I asked Chetty Jagan then, I said, "Come Chetty, I don't know anything about local government election, local government. And he's making me minister." And at that time, you can get cold sweat when you are a school-skinned fella and you were told that you're going to be in charge of 65 NDCs, 6 towns, 10 regions, and in addition, I was going to take over the portfolio of Amerindian Affairs, 70 Amerindian villages. You start to get capacity. How could you do that? And I didn't have a ministry, a building, nor staff. So he just watched me and he said, "You could do it. Your father was a great local government leader. My old man was vice chairman or chairman of the Wim Village Council at that time, and Chetty Jagan knew him. So he felt I am good for the local government portfolio based on the fact that my father was a local government man. Because in our house, it was like a local government, a local parliament. The politics every afternoon over a half of white rum, and another half, and then the gaffing start, and you get in politics all the time. Good. So our children don't know that. This new generation has Jagdeo and Ramatar eat out a valuable part of their diet, which is being fed on politics, local politics. As you know, all politics is local.
Panchayat.
Yes. So they don't know that. So I believe that you're going to have a transition of where you're going to have leaders come in and then encourage younger people
For succession planning.
the succession planning. I feel I'm looking here at something. If you see me grab something, somebody throw something in my hand, I didn't get to look at it. If you look at these things here of candidates going out in some area, I don't know which area this is, you're seeing a lot of young people going up and want to take control of their own development.
Good.
And so you have a good mix. The coalition is going into the election as a coalition, AFC, APNU, AFC, because I believe we have branded ourselves in the last election. But ultimately, we would support a position that you don't need political parties in local government elections. But for now, I believe you need the transition and you need to show a way forward, a leadership route, a leadership pathway, and therefore in the future I'd like to see the political parties take themselves out of local government elections and allow the people to elect their own members of the community. And a lot more young people are going to get in.
So technically they will sink or swim based on how they administrate their regions.
Yes.
Excellent.
Mr. Prime Minister, we want to say thank you very much, but as is often the case with our interviews on ITV, we normally give the final word to our guests. So please look at our viewers in the eyes and give them whatever message you want to say directly from the office of the Prime Minister of Guyana, the Honorable Mr. Moses Virasamy Nagamootoo. You have seen him on ITV many times. So here he is for the first time on our camera in the office as Prime Minister of the country. Sir, please address our ITV audience.
Well, thank you very much, Rudy, and a good day to all of you, ITV audience. As Rudy said, it's not the first time for me on ITV, and I definitely would like to thank the sponsors of Rudy's program, hoping you could have some more sponsors to carry a lot more of what's happening in Guyana. Exciting things are happening.
We do not have any sponsors. We pay for this ourselves. No sponsor. This is commercial free.
Isn't that good? But a lot of things are happening in Guyana right now. The excitement is here. And as you can see from the crowds that came out at the flag raising ceremony, you can hear them roaring as the flag went up, this giant flag, Guyana flag, go Guyana, go, go Guyana, go. Oh, you could be filled with emotions being in the brand new place called Durban Park, where they used to have horse racing before. So that is part of the preparations we're making, the excitement that is taking place for the 50th anniversary of our celebration of our independence, our Golden Jubilee. And you have in New York also some programs that will come off in June, where I'm expected, if I can find the time, President David Granger is expected also to be there, not together, but to take part separately in these events. So we are hoping that you could come home and join with all Guyanese to celebrate different parts and different aspects of this Golden Jubilee. It's good to feel patriotic. It's good to feel that you have a homeland. It's good to know that you're Guyanese, and the warmth and the friendship and the hospitality. We are all here to receive you when you come back on this occasion. And listen, you're always going to have people saying bad things about your country and discouraging you from coming. Look, this is one time you have one opportunity to say, hey, shut up. I'm going home and I can see what's happening there for myself. And come on down here, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to all try to reimagine our Guyana as the best dream in our life, the best utopian paradise of our life. And of course, it's a pleasure being on your program once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. It's a pleasure having you on the program Inside Guyana. And on behalf of our camera crew, led by Tony, Jadoopat, and Mr. Jonathan Sobryan, we want to say thank you very much for having us here.